Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report Podcast, energized by Celsius. It is a Victory Monday, ladies and gentlemen, the second Victory Monday of the week. The Bucs were victorious yesterday, defeating their bitter rival New Orleans Saints by a score of 20-10. They are now 2-0 on the season, with a big test coming up this week against the Green Bay Packers. We will further recap this game and obviously a ton of news regarding Mike Evans after we heard from Todd Bowles today that Evans got suspended for his altercation with Marshon Lattimore. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is SR Scott Reynolds. And Scott, as exciting as it was, there is a lot of questions going into week 3 for the Bucs, but nonetheless, 2-0 is 2-0. That's a great start.
Yeah, it really is, Matt. When you look at this game, the only negative is just Mike Evans getting suspended for the Packers game. But I really think, and I wrote this in my 2-point conversion today, my post-game column, I just think that was kind of the spark that energized at least the offense. I think the defense is playing exceptionally well at New Orleans, especially in the second half. You know, they held the Saints to just 3 points in the first half. Then they got the game tied and really just took over offensively and defensively after that big brawl, melee, fracas, whatever we want to call it. And unfortunately, it resulted in a suspension by Mike Evans. This is his second suspension. Evans was also suspended in 2017 for defending another quarterback, Jameis Winston of all people, and he got into it with Marshawn Lynch. These guys don't like each other, and I think that it's. I'm sorry. Who did I say?
Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. Well, yeah, maybe he got into it with Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lattimore. Yeah. And you know what? I've made that mistake before. I don't know why. I mean, these are two completely different people. We're talking about beast mode, and we're talking about a punk in New Orleans. So I listen. We're going to get into this. We might as well get into it right now. I take issue, and I know Mike Evans takes issue at the fact that he was suspended and Marshon Lattimore was not. Okay, so here's kind of a play-by-play, if you will, right? This is Lattimore coming off of the third down where he's kind of jawing with Tom Brady a little bit. Brady kind of got in his face, was talking to him. Leonard Fournette comes over and kind of gets shoved by Lattimore. Then Mike Evans takes exception to that. And Evans comes over and just wallops into Marshon Lattimore. And then the crazy thing is this. Here's Lattimore on the ground. Then you have Marcus May, the safety for the Saints. He comes over and starts getting into it with Mike Evans. I mean, you can see in this picture here, that's a throat punch. That's a throat punch, right?
First of all, you're crazy if you're going to throw a punch at someone wearing a helmet. Like, all you're going to do is potentially break your hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that Mike Evans is getting suspended and nothing for Lattimore, nothing for Marcus May. I mean,
Marcus May didn't get a penalty in the game, right? I mean, honestly, it's like we have some photographic evidence here that shows that he's just as much into this fracas as Lattimore and Evans were. I mean, it's Lattimore's mouth that starts it, and then Evans complicates things by charging him, bum rushing him, whatever you want to call it. But then Marcus May basically, he and Lattimore grab Evans and then tackle him to the ground, So I was a little stunned, and maybe he gets fined. I hope that he does, Marcus May as well as Lattimore. We know that Mike Evans is going to get fined for this, and he's also going to lose a game check. But ironically, for Mike Evans, he did a contract renegotiation. He did a restructuring, if you will, where he took some money that he was due this year and to help the Bucs cap space, and was that a lot of that was turned into a roster bonus where it's prorated. So Mike Evans loses a game check this year, but since he's only technically making like $1.12 million this year, it amounts to about $65,000, which, I mean, that's a lot for you and I, but for Mike Evans, and any football player, that's not, Matt. But next year, just to put things in perspective, next year, Evans's base salary shoots way up to $13 million, over the course of the year. So those game checks are going to be much closer to $1 million per game, not 65,000.
Yeah, so Mike Evans is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers by getting suspended, for this game or this season, and the following season, which of course they play the Saints every single year. So
yeah,
there's going to be more opportunities for more fights and dust ups and everything of that nature. And we did hear as well that Mike Evans is going to be appealing this suspension.
He is going to be appealing the suspension. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a bit of controversy with that, Scott, because the two people that normally would hear out his appeal would be Buccaneers Hall of Famer and Ring of Honor member Derek Brooks,
right,
and then former NFL player Jon Runyan. Now, because
no, James Thrash. James Thrash is the other one. Jon Runyan is actually the one who levied this punishment.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the interesting thing about Jon Runyan. His son plays for the Packers. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is a huge conflict of interest. This is nuts. This is a banana republic. I mean, I already don't like the NFL as it is because they're trying to legislate physicality out of the game with their stupid, unnecessary roughness calls that shouldn't have been called. And I'm talking about the 2 ones against the Buccaneers and the one against the Saints. Okay? The NFL tries to continue to ruin its product with this bunch of garbage. Jon Runyan, okay, he is the one who suspended not Marshawn Lattimore, but Mike Evans, okay? And his son plays for the Packers, who plays Tampa Bay this week, Sunday at Raymond James Stadium. I mean, this is a huge conflict of interest. And if I'm Mike Evans, I'm pointing this shit out immediately. This is my opening defense. This screenshot right here this should be Exhibit A right here in Mike Evans' defense when he appeals. And you know what? He should ask for Derek Brooks. He should say, you know what? You want to play daddy ball because your son plays for the Packers and you want to suspend me for the Packers game? You know what? Play daddy ball. I want Derek Brooks as my appeals person, okay? And if I'm Derek Brooks, I'm saying, you know what? I don't like the Packers. I never have liked the Packers. And Mike Evans is going to play on Sunday. So, eat that, cheeseheads. That's what I'm saying. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's stupid across the board. The fact that Marcus May isn't getting anything, the fact that Marshawn Lattimore isn't getting anything, when he's involved in the whole thing. I mean, we saw the video where he throws a punch at Leonard Fournette as well.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
He's not innocent in this whole thing. So I think it's silly to be like, oh, well, Mike Evans is like this isn't his first offense because he got suspended a couple years ago. Again, backing up his teammates. It's stupid that if he's going to get suspended and the other two guys don't, where is like the rhyme or reason with that? It doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, I agree. Let Derek Brooks come in and they can argue over it because it does seem a little telling like, wow, this could be advantageous for the Green Bay Packers this Sunday if Mike Evans isn't available, especially when you tack on top Julio Jones. We don't know if he's going to be ready. He obviously missed yesterday's game with the knee injury. Chris Godwin dealing with the hamstring injury. Luckily, Rashad Perriman turns into Superman when he becomes the number 1 wide receiver like he did for the Bucs in 2019 when they dealt with a lot of hamstring injuries. But Scott, if we were, I don't even know with these NFL appeals if you can like bring in like an attorney or a representative. But if I were to be Mike Evans' attorney, I'm going in there and I'm saying, and there's even more pettiness to this with the Bucs and the Saints.
Yeah.
Listen, none of this happens if the Saints just give the Bucs a suite, a luxury box, so Bruce Arians could be up there and the rest of the front office. Remember, Bruce Arians was the one goading Mike Evans on the sideline, kind of being
you mean Lattimore.
Well, he's goading Lattimore, which got Lattimore going off. Then Mike Evans goes out there. If the Saints just do a common courtesy and don't play, petty ball and make all the Bucs front office go into the, onto the field, Bruce and what That was one of my arguments for Mike Evans there.
Well, I will
My
say
second
this.
one-
I will say this.
Sure.
I just saw on Twitter there was a Saints reporter who tweeted out the little press box card that has everyone's seat assignments and all that, and there's a couple of empty seats there for Buccaneers personnel, and I think the implication is well, you could have sat in the press box, and Jason Light has sat in the press box before. He has, but we're talking about Jason Light, John Spytek, Mike Beal, Rob McCartney, Mike Greenberg, and Bruce Arians. So we're talking about, I think, 6 people I just named right there, 5 or 6. And I think there's 3 empty seats in the press box. So somebody's got to be downstairs. Okay. So, and typically what teams will do, the Buccaneers do this, is they don't make their brass, right? The personnel people, the general manager, the assistant GM, the capologist, the pro personnel guys, the VPs, they don't make them sit in the press box typically around the league. That's not how it happens. Back in the old sombrero, Al Davis sat right behind me back in 1996. I mean, literally right behind me in the Bucs cool. Press box. Yeah, it was funny. I think the Bucs actually won that game in field goal. He snapped a pencil and threw it straight ahead and hit me in the back. And my younger self didn't really. I didn't do it in face, but that's just me being an old grumpy man now. But most NFL teams will they'll have a luxury suite or a box for that personnel grouping, right? That entire front office, essentially, not the Brian Fords, the people in marketing, the public relations guys, right? Nelson Luis, the communication staff, they're in the press box, but they'll usually have a luxury box. So I guess that's what Todd Bowles was saying today is the Saints did not make a box available to the Buccaneers. And I think what the Saints reporter was saying is as well, they could have sat in the press box. Well, not all of them, because by my count, there's only 3 empty seats for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, very interesting. A lot of people, on Twitter and social media are saying that the Saints are poor. I thought that was kind of funny,
Yeah.
Or poverty franchise is another one. But the whole Mike Evans suspension, it's got a lot of people riled up. You just had a pretty epic rant there about how it's been asked that, unleashing the suspension. So got you pretty energized, Scott, which of course reminds me and should remind everyone that Celsius is the presenting sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. We love Celsius for so many different reasons because, one, the variety of flavors. You see the Arctic vibe, peach vibe, and tropical vibe right there. The vibes are always very high on this podcast, and it's a very passionate podcast as well. And if you're passionate about Celsius, you can go and find where you can get more on the Celsius store locator. I can go right down the street and go get a Celsius from my local bodega. There's going to be gas stations, other bodegas, other, Walmarts, places like that should have a Celsius near you. You can also buy them online. Go to Amazon, have it set up every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I recommend getting the variety pack. Variety is the spice of life. Have it sent to your house or apartment. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drink, 7 essential vitamins and great tasting flavor. It's a healthy energy drink. You don't get that post energy drink crash or jitters that others might give to you. So make sure you're drinking Celsius. That's hashtag Celsius Live Fit. My second case for Mike Evans would be because, the NFL will always say, oh, this isn't setting a good example for the kids. This isn't good for the children.
Give me a break.
I would say, one, maybe he is setting a good example that he's going to stand up for himself and he's going to have the back of his teammates.
Yeah.
I think that's a good learning lesson.
Yeah.
For the children. And 2,
you saw what Mike Evans said, right? When you could read his lips on the TV replay. What did he say, Matt?
He said, that's Tom Brady. What else am I supposed to do? See, he didn't even use a cuss word.
Exactly.
They didn't even use a cuss word. Setting another good example for the children. Yeah. And then the last thing he did, as he was leaving, as people are booing him, throwing towels and other stuff at him, he stops what he's doing, takes off his gloves, and he gives it to a Bucs fan wearing a Mike Evans jersey in the front row. He made that kid's day. He knows what it's about. It's about the future. It's about the future. And he's still going out there and providing entertainment and, joy to all the fans.
Joy to the world, really, is what he's doing. Joy to the world. I mean, Mike good guy. Marshawn Lattimore, not good guy. We can just sum it up like that. And John Runyon, stupid guy because his son plays for the Packers. I mean, come on. That's such a conflict of interest. I mean, recuse yourself, John. This is embarrassing for the league. This just is. It's embarrassing. So, but what's not embarrassing is the fact that Leo, one of our absolute favorite people in the chat,
Leo,
I don't think he ever misses a show either. We don't do attendance here. I mean, we are in a couple minutes going to do roll call.
Roll call.
Because it's Monday. Where are you at, Pewter people? So we're going to be doing that in about 2 minutes. Matt's going to be putting up the locations today. I'm going to be opining about something super interesting and entertaining for a couple minutes while he does that. This already feels like it's probably the best Pewter Report podcast we've ever done. So we're going to keep it rolling. And Leo, again, with the super chat, this team is still being disrespected. All of a sudden now the Packers will beat the Bucs just because they beat the Bears. And also F Mike Florio. Mike Florio, he just has it in for Bruce Arians and Tom Brady. I mean, he's a Vikings fan. I get it. They've never won a Super Bowl. Is that correct? I don't think they have. I think they've been in Super Bowls. They've never won it.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's just come on, man. It's like got to do better than that. Had another super chat here too. We want to get to if we always have a ton of people that come in the chat here, and we can't get to all the great questions and comments. Sometimes they just come in fast and furious. But Keith Davis here with the $10 super chat. Our offense can't seem to catch a break, man. Like, geez, love Mike, but he has to be smarter. We need all the help we can get. Plus, tight ends, no production again. I never doubt Brady, but come on, Mike. Yeah, and we started off the show, the opening graphic, as the Bucs defense leading the way for this 2-0 start. And Matt, they're going to have to play defense again. This just reminds me so much, and I'm the old timer on this podcast, but this reminds me so much of 2002 when this offense was just coming together, and you had Derek Brooks and John Lynch and Rondé Barber, Mike Allstott was playing offense. He was like the lone guy, really. Until John Gruden came along and the likes of Keyshawn. Well, Keyshawn was already here, but really got Keyshawn kind of going. But Keenan McCardell, Joe Jaravicious, the offense started to kind of come to life. But it was Rondé Barber and Simeon Rice and those guys on defense that had to carry the day and carry the way for the Bucs, offense until they got their act together about midseason. So I would expect, and Todd Bowles even alluded to this, that until they get healthy, and until there is some continuity, you're going to see, I think, the offense struggle a little bit, and the defense is going to have to continue to play well. And thankfully, they are. Matt, I think it's about that time, my friend.
It's time, right about that time, ladies and gentlemen. It is roll call. Tell us where you're at, Pewter people. We love interacting with everyone on the show. We have some awesome fans, and we got great fans across the world, not just the U.S., across the country. So whether you're watching from Tampa, from the state of Florida, the West Coast of the United States, maybe you're in Britain, China, Brazil, Finland, wherever it is, let us know where you're watching from. We will put your comment/location on the screen.
I'm going to start off with this one. It's not a location, but Jameis will get the ring of interception. Yeah, he's going to get that ring for sure. So take it away, Matt. I'm just going to say this about Jameis Winston. I have no ill will towards the guy whatsoever. I like Jameis Winston as a person. His training videos crack me up. I mean, they just do. And there was a little bit of a spat, I guess, on the plane ride when Leonard Fournette was doing a live stream on one of the social media apps. I don't know if it was Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. Anyways, he was on the plane, and he was kind of doing the having eating a W like Jameis likes to do. And Chris Godwin, who played with Jameis and got his NFL start with Jameis in 2017, so 2017, 2018, 2019. Played with Jameis for 3 years. Obviously, they're friends, and I listen. I don't think guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they're still friends with Jameis, right? But they're on the offensive side of the ball, right? And Devin White was absolutely giving no shits about Jameis Winston on that plane ride home. And And Chris was like, man, like, why'd you have to call James out like that? In that interview, he's like, do you want to be friends with? I mean, like, we're playing him. I mean, he's the enemy. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't have the quote in front of me, but I agree wholeheartedly. It's like Jameis Winston's a saint now. I mean, that's just how it is. And Devin White, no lies were detected. I mean, this man is known for throwing interceptions and throwing pick sixes, and he did so with mastery during the 2019 season. I mean, he threw a franchise record 33 touchdowns that year. I mean, Tom Brady broke it the next year with 40. But still, for 1 year, he set the Bucs franchise record with 33 touchdown passes, but he threw 30 interceptions that year. And that was a big reason why the Bucs went 7-9 and didn't even make the playoffs. And out of those 30 interceptions, which actually was not a franchise record, Vinny Testaverde owns that, but he did throw 7 pick sixes, which was an NFL record. So Jameis Winston became the first quarterback in NFL franchise to throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season. And he also threw 7 pick sixes, which was a franchise record. And now I believe has set yet another NFL record, because Jameis Winston has thrown pick sixes to all 4 teams within the same division now, right? He got one courtesy of Mike Edwards, right? That was the pick six from the Buccaneers. And then he had already thrown interceptions and pick sixes against the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. So Jameis Winston now has yet another NFL record, that not exactly the kind that he wants. It's a dubious one, but Devin White, I mean, credit him for just telling the truth, and Jamel Dean picked him off twice. Then you saw the pick six from Mike Edwards. We've seen this type of Jameis unravel, and it's caused literal pain for Buccaneer fans and the team itself. It's no secret that they bailed on Jameis and they got Tom Brady, and they didn't really do much else personnel-wise, right? I mean, they brought in Gronkowski and Fournette, and Antonio Brown halfway through the season. But by and large, this wasn't like Tom Brady, and a handful of guys come in and they won the Super Bowl, Matt, in 2020. This wasn't like 2002, where John Gruden literally changed half of the roster. I think out of the 53 players, something like half of the team, I think 27 players had never played for Tony Dungy before. So just over half of that roster was brand new. When Gruden came, everybody says Gruden won the Super Bowl with Dungy's team. No, I'll say he won it with Dungy's defense, but that offense was completely different. Half of the roster didn't even play for Tony Dungy the year prior. That's not the case in 2020. So they made one big switch, Tom Brady in, Jameis Winston out, and they went from 7-9 to 11-5, and voila, a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a good point. They won with the same core of players when they won the Super Bowl in 2020. Sure, Tom Brady recruited Rob Gronkowski. Gronk doesn't just willingly go to the Bucs unless Tom Brady's in there. But to your point, that defense was pretty much the same. The offense, the main focal points were very similar until Antonio Brown later in the season. And sure, the new guys did shine the brightest in the Super Bowl when Leonard Fournette had a touchdown and Gronk had 2 and Antonio Brown. But of course, the whole reason they got there was everyone that they had involved. So it really just was the Brady for Jameis switch that really changed everything around. I was asked about everything that went on with Devin White and Leonard Fournette's live stream and Chris Godwin on Beckles and Retro on WDAE. And thank you, Giovanni, for the $5 super chat. What I will say is I don't blame Devin White for what he said, like on the sideline in that interview, because they were, he was asked a question and he's like, yeah, we played with this guy. We know that he can turn the ball over a lot. So we want to take advantage of that when we built the lead. So nothing he said there, I think, was like a diss at Jameis, was that type of thing.
It's the truth.
And I think it's really important to remind everyone, to point out that, Leonard Fournette was going live on Instagram, but that was meant to be a private conversation. Like, I don't think Leonard stood up from his seat and was like, hey guys, I'm going live on Instagram, whatever. because once Chris Godwin asked the question, then he saw Leonard was live and like instantly kind of shut it off. So I don't think, first of all, everything that Devin White said on the plane, you know, that's his point of view. I don't think that was meant for like public ears. You know, it's not like he went on Twitter and was like F Jameis and and all of that stuff. So I have no issue with what Devin White said. And I don't fault Chris Godwin either. You know, he's you know, obviously he has a relationship.
Well, then it's right. Stick up for his friend and whatever. I mean, you know, I'm not dissing Chris Godwin at all. He's welcome to stick up for Jameis and ask the question and probe, you know, Devin White about it. That's fine. But I've got even more so than that. I've got no problem with Devin White.
He said we ain't playing friends. When he said we ain't playing friends, I do agree with that side too. Again, especially if he only played with Jameis for 1 year, there's probably not a huge relationship with him. Though JPP did say last year that him and Jameis went hiking in the offseason. So I thought that was very interesting because like a quarterback and a defensive guy, you know, never know what that relationship is. But Devin White clearly does not have a great one with Jameis.
Yeah, I like Jameis as a person. I mean, I felt bad last year when he tore his ACL, you know, against the Buccaneers
and
on
Devin
Halloween.
White making the tackle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, he's a saint. So I don't begrudge Devin White at all for giving Jameis the business about that, especially when he's doing nothing but spitting out facts. So here's some more facts. The Bucs defense is really good.
They are freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Might even be an understatement the way that they're playing. And there's a great question, Scott, that you had that was asked to you on the Bucs Monday mailbag today. Make sure you check it out on pewterreport.com if you've not read it yet. But essentially, is this Bucs defense that good, or is it just that they haven't played the best styles of offenses? And you said that it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, week 1, they obviously played a much better quarterback with Dak Prescott. But week 2, I think they went up against better weapons overall. So I think the Bucs are really doing their thing defensively. Yeah. And the real test is going to be this week against Green Bay, going up against Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And of course, Kansas City the following week. We'll find out a lot.
And you know what? I think they're going up against a really balanced Packers team, right? We know what Aaron Rodgers can do, and he doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore, but you have Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, right? There's enough people for Aaron Rodgers, and he's a bit of a kingmaker. He can make, he can make receivers.
Good players great,
exactly, and he can. And okay guys good, right? And sometimes that's all you need. But this Packers team, and everybody kind of made fun of them drafting A.J. Dillon. Another running back when they already had Aaron Jones, but it's a nice 1-2 punch, man. Yeah. It's a lot. And if Tampa Bay, I think that because at the end of the Cowboys game, they gave up, I think, 74 yards rushing in that game. And that's still a reasonable number, right? And the Cowboys had to kind of abandon the run in the second half of that game because the score started to get a little lopsided. But it's really been the first quarter of both the Packers and the Cowboys games that have really kind of gashed the Bucs a little bit. And I asked Todd Bowles about in the press conference, and he said more so than anything, it's missed tackling and it's guys not being in their gap. And you can kind of, see, and again, these are human beings we're talking about, right? These Buccaneer players on defense, they're humans. They're not robots. And I think that they felt, week 1, we did a good job, but all of a sudden now they give up 100 yards on the ground, 102 yards to the Saints. And I think that might have got their attention a little bit. And this is the week where you better hone in on the details, and you better believe Todd Bowles is going to be hammering all of those 11, 12-yard runs that the Bucs defense was getting gashed by Mark Ingram.
Thank you, Les, for the $5 super chat. He says, if the Packers are smart, they wouldn't even show up for this game. The Bucs are going to be pissed and loaded for Bear. But to your point, like the I guess you could call it a struggle in the run stopping by Bucs standards, the struggle in stopping the run. It hasn't overrun by any means. They allowed 1 touchdown through 2 games, but it was a little bit of an eye-opener. And when you hear a team ran for 100 yards against the Bucs, that's almost unheard of. It's like it's eye-opening when you see something like that. And the Packers, to their credit, have run the ball very, very efficiently. You mentioned, obviously, Jones and Dillon, two great running backs. They're just a great tandem. You got that thunder and lightning thing kind of going a little bit. Dillon a little more bulkier and physical, get some of the goal line carries, where Aaron Jones, much quicker. We can get a lot to this on Wednesday and Thursday show when we're really going to do a deep dive with the Packers. But one big reason the Packers, were not successful their first game of the season where they got blown out by the Vikings. Aaron Jones only had 8 touches. And, that's not a recipe for success for the Packers there. But one thing that we talked about a little bit on yesterday's show too, Scott, was that Akeem Hicks, and obviously he got hurt in the game. Todd Bowles didn't really have an update on Hicks or left tackle Josh Wells, what their availability will be for this upcoming week. But Hicks, who was obviously awesome in the preseason, hasn't been up to, I think, our level of expectations for the regular season. And he struggled a little bit yesterday, especially with the double teams that open things. Hicks is available. Yeah, we don't know. He could be ready to go. But if he's not available, that obviously means Will Golston, Nacho, those guys will be in the mix, of course, with Logan Hall as well. Sure, that might take a little step back with the pass rush, but, Nacho's built to play the run. He had one more snap than Will Golston. So you might see them cleaning up in the run game if that's the situation, if Nacho is thrown into a bigger role. But I am curious to see if that's how it'll be.
Yeah, and you almost wonder, too, if Akeem Hicks is going to be out for a couple of games, then maybe he goes on short-term IR and they bring somebody up in the practice squad. I don't think they're going to be bringing back Ndamukong Suh. I just don't. I'm not saying they're not going to. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think that if something happens to Akeem Hicks on a long-term basis, if this is an injury that is more long-term, then they might consider it. But we'll see.
Who they could bring up?
Well,
Mike Green is one of them, but they have
another guy. Willington Prevalon. They might bring up Willington Prevalon.
Sorry, I had to go in that direction.
Of course you did, and that's fine. That's totally appropriate. What else is appropriate on a Monday, a Victory Monday? Well, I know what is appropriate. I'm having one right now, folks. This is a Pirate Republic Golden Haze of Piracy Belgian wheat beer, and I like this little orange thing at the bottom here. This is an actual orange. You squeeze it and just drop it in, and it totally sets this off. So I've already had a Celsius orange today. And, I decided, what, I'm going to have an orange beer. And I chose the Golden Haze of Piracy. So I'm going to tell you about that today. If you didn't know, Pirate Republic is the official beer of Pewter Report. It's an absolutely fantastic beer. They've got 3 different kinds of beer here available in the Tampa Bay area and across the state of Florida. They're invading Florida and taking over. It's really fun to see. Long John Pilsner, the Take No Quarter IPA, which is the only IPA I like, and I really, really do like it. But the Golden Haze of Piracy, this Belgian wheat beer is phenomenal. 4.6, it packs a little bit of a punch. Malted barley and wheat together with Belgian yeast create a golden haze, while coriander and orange peels are added to the boil to accentuate a lively, sweet citrus flavor. Folks, it's as good as it sounds. If you have not tried Pirate Republic yet, I encourage you to do so. Here's how you can get it in the Tampa Bay area. There's a couple of bars. I'll put them up on social media tomorrow that you can go and grab a pint. But I will tell you, all 3 of these beers, the Long John Pilsner, the Take No Quarter IPA, and the Golden Haze of Piracy Belgian wheat, they're all available at participating Total Wine & More, ABC Liquors, Lucan's Liquors, and Party Liquors. So make sure, if you have not tried Pirate Republic yet, listen, you root for the Pewter Pirates, right? You already have a pirate mentality, right? So drink like a pirate. Live life on your terms and drink Pirate Republic beer. And I want you all to go out and get some this week. This is a big game against the Packers coming up. And try it. Buy a 6-pack of the Long John Pilsner. It's great to take to the tailgate. It's great for the pool and the beach because it's kind of crushable. It's not real heavy. And if you if you like it, tell me about it next week in the chat or this week, because I want to hear about it and get some feedback, because I really think you're going to like it. It's a fantastic beer, the official beer of Pewter Report. That is Pirate Republic.
And Richard, on brand right here, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says, happy Talk Like a Pirate Day. Victory Monday. So there you go. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yep.
So it was good for the Bucs.
Well, yeah, here's a question here from Nate Pitts. Sincere question. What is it that is keeping Scotty Miller on this roster? Is Jason Light his uncle or something? BA his grandpa? It was not a great day, right, for Scotty Miller on Sunday. He had one catch, 23 yards to start the game, and then really kind of struggled after that. And the funny thing is remember, there's a lot of Scotty Miller fans when we were kind of maybe foreshadowing that he wasn't going to make the team. Turns out we were wrong, but it really kind of shocked everybody that Brashad Perriman made the team. And now I think we're kind of seeing why. Perriman is just one of those guys that just flies under the radar, right? He is a supporting cast kind of guy. He is not Mike Evans. He's not Chris Godwin. He's not Julio Jones. But there have been some times, whether it was back in 2019 at the end of the season when Godwin and Evans and Scotty Miller were out with injuries at the end of the year, where he had 3 straight 100-yard games, or whether it was the touchdown catch, the walk-off score against the Bills in overtime, or that clutch touchdown in the fourth quarter, Matt, against the Saints. There's just something about Brashad Perriman. The guy just kind of shows up, man. It just, that was a hell of a kind of a delay, right? He saw the pass coming and tracked it, and PJ Williams was right there, right around the goal line. And then Perriman just kind of baited him a little bit to slow down. And then he just kind of took 1 or 2 quick steps, drifted to the back of the end zone, created that separation, and hauled it in. I thought it was a tremendous move from Perriman. That was a veteran move to get that touchdown and not really have it be contested.
It was an exceptional play. It almost felt like I was watching, 2 people play the video game Madden, and there was a glitch, and all of a sudden caught it, because Williams had really good coverage.
He did.
Perriman tends to struggle making contested catches.
Yeah.
We saw later in the game he dropped that ball on, I think it was 3rd and 1, or it was a 3rd and short situation, and the Bucs, I think, could have run out the clock, or at least made it even more difficult for the Saints to even get the ball back or move it in that situation. But the way that he made the catch, and just the timing was perfect with everything, because he had the fight with Mike Evans and Lattimore, and then Jamel Dean gets the pick, and then the Bucs are moving down the field, and they just needed, it's like when he made that play, we always talk about splash plays on the show. They just needed that one play to really just ignite everything else. And you talk about an epic fourth quarter with all the turnovers that the Bucs defense was able to cause, and the offense sprinkled in some plays there, as we'll see with this first month of the season, where the defense is leading the way, leading the charge, and then Brady and the offense will do their thing when the time comes. But that was just, why is it when all of the other starters are out, Brashad Perriman all of a sudden becomes,
I don't know,
a great guy? It's only when everyone else is
you're
out.
right.
Because when Evans was in the game, even the week before, when Evans was available and Julio, Perriman wasn't really making too many plays. They targeted him a lot and wasn't making the catch. And then, it was a little quiet up until that point in the game against the Saints. And then, bam, Mike gets ejected, and all of a sudden, Perriman puts on his cape and he becomes Superman. It's it doesn't make sense, but it works for the Bucs.
Tom, Bucs fan, I'm prejudiced for Perriman, as I like bigger, faster wide receivers, and I think that's a big reason why he made this team, because he can also play special teams. But Tom Brady likes him. I mean, they have a bit of a rapport. He's not, he's farther down the totem pole, right? Like you said, he only kind of steps up when something happens to those other players. But I tell you, he's going to have to step up big time this week, because even if Julio Jones comes back with that knee, he's 33 years old. Is he going to be able to finish the game? We had a question here. What's going on with Gage? That's a great question.
Yeah.
Right now, I've been a little perplexed by the production of Russell Gage, who right now, let's see, Mike Evans, your leading receiver with 8 catches, 132 yards, a healthy 16.5 yard average, and a touchdown for the season. Julio Jones didn't play, but 3 catches, 69 yards in the season opener. Then Brashad Perriman is the 3rd leading receiver in terms of yardage, 3 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. That happened all on Sunday in New Orleans. But 7 catches for Russell Gage, 41 yards. That's a 5.9 yard average. And I don't know if it's just with Gage, is he still hamstrung with that hamstring injury? Is that still bothering him? Is there like a chemistry issue between he and Brady not being able to be on the same page yet? I'm just not sure. I was a little shocked that Gage has not been more involved in the offense a little further down the field than he has. I mean, a 5.9 yard average. I mean, that's like what Leonard Fournette would get catching the ball out of the backfield.
Right. You hit it right on the head, Scott. It's like the plays that he is making and the throws going his way are all very manufactured. They're small little screens, little 2 yards. Hey, let's get him the ball and then see if he can do something up the field. I think we all thought, again, we talked a ton about he would play that Chris Godwin role of being in the slot and going vertical down the field, or, maybe not like 30, 40 yards down the field, but at least like that nice 15, 20 yard route, get you a first down, move the ball, get it over midfield, whatever it may be. And I really do think, and it's just a hunch, but I think that hamstring might be a little more annoying than many, including myself, really thought, because something just doesn't seem totally right for the fact that like Perryman has played. Right? Exactly. Perryman played more snaps than Russell Gage did. And we went into the season saying that Russell Gage is going to be the number 3 receiver and Julio was going to be the number 4, be that insurance policy. But no, that completely flipped. Like Julio is going to be a focal point of this offense when he is available. It's just a question of when he will be. Where Russell Gage, something doesn't seem right. It's got to be
the hamstring. I don't want to make excuses, but I think there's a legitimacy here to that. Remember, Matt, the first, 2.5, 3 weeks of camp before he injured that against the Dolphins in that joint practice session, the very first one. Yeah. Russell Gage was probably the leading receiver in Bucs camp.
He was very
getting open. I mean, the defensive backs were having a hard time covering him, whether it was Winfield in the slot, whether he was lined up outside, whether it was Dean or Davis. I mean, there were some days where Russell Gage was the best receiver on the field for the Buccaneers. And we just haven't seen him be anywhere close to that. So I got to think that he's not close to 100%, but they need him. So he's going out there and just being serviceable.
The football gods are tempting me because I have Russell Gage on 2 of my fantasy teams.
Me too.
And I didn't play him this week, but I was like, if there was a time to play him, it would be with Chris Godwin and Julio Jones out. And I didn't. Yeah. And I'm very glad I did. But if Evans' suspension holds up and he's not able to play, and if Julio's not available and it doesn't look like Chris Godwin is, I feel like I'm forced to play him in my flex just because no one, and I have a solid team. I like the depth of my fantasy team. But like, if no one else is out there besides Rashad Perryman and Russell Gage, like who else is going to do it at wide receiver? You have all non-prototypical wide receivers that the Bucs coaching staff usually likes. Scotty Miller, undersized. Jalen Darden, undersized. Tompkins and Geiger from the practice squad, obviously. So you're running out of like the tall bodies. You might have to take Logan Hall at defensive lineman, put him at wide receiver just to get that type of size. The Bucs are always looking for.
I'm with you. I think if Rashad Perryman can step up and maybe kind of catch lightning in a bottle and have a 100-yard game against the Packers, the way he ended that season in 2019 with 3 straight 100-yard games, then it just might be a jackpot for this Bucs offense.
Just the way you like it. Me and my wife decided we'll have some fun. I was playing a 2-cent machine. 6 bets in, I hit a jackpot. $117,000.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I won over $500,000 playing slot. I do this full time, and I would not change it for the world.
I'm Gloria. I won over $2 million at Seminole Hard Rock Casino. I went and bought a bunch of jewelry.
My name is Mike, and I won over $350,000. I love playing baccarat because it hits different. When you pull in that card and you flip over that 9, beating that 8, can't miss.
I'm Jimmy. I won $500,000 in a slot tournament at Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa. Even a blind squirrel can get a nut sometimes.
My name is Philip, and I won $215,000 on Blazing Sevens.
Put my last $40 on the table.
Next thing you know, bam, $215,000 jackpot. I hit that bad boy.
I didn't realize how much it would change my life.
You only live once. Have fun with it, right?
Anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa.
That's a new advertising partner, Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tampa. Matt, we're going to be doing a couple shows out there this year. So the Pewter Report podcast is going to go on the road during the week, and we'll have those dates for you. We'd love to see you. Come on out and meet us and greet us, and maybe we'll play you guys in a game of poker or something. So it'll be fun. But it's a great place for entertainment. Yeah. Well, Sunday should be a great place for entertainment at Raymond James Stadium, right? So even though Mike Edwards is going to be on the field, Mike Evans is not. And I just saw somebody that said, where was it here? Can Mike Edwards play wide receiver? He's a ball hawk. This guy is just incredible. I did a story on Edwards a couple weeks ago prior to the start of the season, and he was saying that he wanted to get his interception totals up, but he prides himself on the fact that he's never dropped a pick. Now, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, they can't say that, but apparently, and I haven't been keeping a tally on everything that's been deemed an interceptable pass, but Mike Edwards over the past 2 seasons as a role player, and it started a couple games when Winfield was out, but primarily as a role player, led the team with interceptions last year with 3, including 2 pick sixes against the Falcons, had 5 total when you combine both of those seasons. But he has not dropped a pick since his rookie season against the Giants. He said, I made a promise to myself, I'm not going to drop another ball, and he hasn't, apparently. So he's got 1 interception. He's behind Jamel Dean in terms of the team lead. But maybe you put Mike Edwards out there in place of Mike Evans as an emergency wide receiver if you need him.
Why not? Deion Sanders used to play wide receiver and cornerback and do kick return. So, why not? Yep. And Mike Edwards, I was like smirking when he got that interception and took it back to the house. I'm like, just typical Mike. Who else but Mike Edwards would get that interception? And who else would get a pick 6 in the 4th quarter?
I know.
The only thing I was surprised of is that he didn't get another one. Yeah. He's the king of back-to-back pick 6s in the 4th quarter. So.
Mark Fisher says, can't replace Gronk, but tight ends have to step up. They've disappeared from our passing game. They have to a degree. I don't think they've been a focal part of the game plan at all. I really don't. I think that the Buccaneers have been emphasizing the run, and primarily that's been due to their offensive line, right? Robert Hainsey got his 2nd career start against the Saints. So did Luke Gedeke, who is a rookie. At least Hainsey is a 2nd-year player. But then you start Josh Wells, and let's get to the injury news. We talked about Akeem Hicks being out probably for a little bit here, at least. Josh Wells didn't finish the game. He lost, or I should say he left in the, 2nd quarter, right, with the calf injury. Mm-hmm. And then he got replaced by Brandon Walton, and boy, 73 came in, and you didn't notice this guy at all. And usually when you're talking about offensive line play and you get noticed, unless you're Ryan Jensen, right, where you're out there jawing at somebody and knocking somebody's block off, usually when your name isn't called, it's a good thing, because usually when your name is called, it's a penalty, Matt. You gave up a sack, fumble, etc. And at least 1 game in, Brandon Walton comes in at left tackle and really surprises and does I don't want to say incredible, but a very credible job replacing Josh Wells. The Bucs won on Sunday with their 3rd string left tackle. And so I think that's why the tight ends, Mark, are not being used as much. They're being used for their blocking, pass protection, as well as run blocking, because they got to protect Tom Brady at all costs. And if you would have told me, Matt, going up against the Saints, who prior to this game have gotten 3 sacks, no fewer than 3 sacks against Tom Brady in each of the 4 losses, if you told me that between the Cowboys game and the Saints game, that Tom Brady would have only been sacked 3 times this year behind a line that did not have Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, or Alex Kappa. The only mainstay is Tristan Wirfs, who's still not 100%, right? I mean, that's pretty incredible, the type of pass protection that Brady's gotten. And yes, he hasn't thrown for 300 yards yet, and it might be some time before he does. He doesn't care. He's been there and done that. He wants to win, and he knows that leaning on the running game and leaning on this defense right now is going to give the Buccaneers the best chance to win. But the way this offensive line is playing for Tom Brady, and Brandon Walton was a big part of it. He might be again on Sunday against the Packers. It's been pretty impressive.
Without question. When you get down to your third string offensive tackle and Tom Brady only gets sacked once, and it wasn't even because of Walton
right.
in that situation, a quicker quarterback, as much as we like to joke about Brady, not being mobile, remember, like, Brady started running. Like, he was gonna try to go, but the mind wanted it, but the body wasn't able to follow up. So the Saints defense obviously caught up with him. Yeah. So Brady knows the end goal. All right, like, the offense will be humming, if you want to say, in November or December. So again, just rely on what you got right now with the offensive line. Like, as you said, Tristan Wirfs, like, he had a false start penalty. That's just hearing Tristan Wirfs and penalty is something that is sometimes you just can't believe it, because he's been, so impressive in his career, obviously getting all pro last year. So shout out to Walton, did in third string. Todd Bowles is very complimentary of him today when you talked about him. Gedicke's still, still coming along here, but Hainsey is another guy that we're not really talking about at all, which I think is a very good thing. Now, the Bucs run offense obviously was not up to par in this game. A lot of third and shorts that were
defense
very frustrating.
Good.
They are so good. And another thing, obviously, someone else we should probably talk about is Byron Leftwich. You put him on most disappointing last week. It did feel like every time that they ran the ball, it was just up the middle, the occasional sweep with like Scotty Miller. And then towards the end of the game, they threw one pitch to the outside to Leonard Fournette, and it got like 7 or 8 yards on the play. I was just like, where was that versatility in, like, they had it in the first game. They had so many different ways they were running the ball. It wasn't just in between the tackles, ramming your head up against the wall. And you saw why they had so much success against the Cowboys. Why didn't they mix it up a little bit? Because it wasn't like you were having so much success. Sure, you're getting 2 and 3 yards versus if you run it to the outside, you might lose 2 or 3. But, when you keep getting stopped over and over again, where was the creativity getting players to the outside? Well, Tristan Wirfs is still pretty mobile. I understand if you don't want to do it with Walton, but Tristan Wirfs can move. Get him out in space.
And sometimes, and I'm a few years older than you, Matt. I'm actually a lot older than you. Sometimes, as you get older, your mind just gets a little foggy. And I've experienced that myself, and I've gone to age rejuvenation for part of that, and it certainly helped me.
As we age, our hormones decrease, both for men and women.
I was tired all the time, had no sex drive.
I was groggy.
I felt like I was 80 years old because everything hurt.
I came to age rejuvenation because I was tired all the time.
Bioidentical hormones has really made such an impact in people's lives.
I actually enjoy shopping now.
Got all my energy back.
Mind is sharp.
I feel like I'm 18 again.
It was perfect for me.
Get with Age Rejuvenation. Do it now. Don't wait.
Call Age Rejuvenation today.
And that's exactly what I've done. And so is John Gilmore, a retired Buccaneer, who is it was part of our Pewter Report tailgate pregame show. And we got some exciting news, so stay tuned for that in just a second here. But guys, if you want to feel better, go to Age Rejuvenation. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex. You might have seen Age Rejuvenation as my new sponsor for the SR's Fab 5 column on PewterReport.com. And they're also the presenting sponsor of the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show on every game day right here on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. Well, I'm also a new Age Rejuvenation customer myself. Thankfully, don't have any issues in the bedroom, but I did turn 50, and the energy and the brain fog, as John was talking about on Sunday, it becomes a real problem. It turns out I've got low testosterone like most men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's nature, fellas. It just happens. Low testosterone can affect everything from weight loss to energy and even like your ability to focus mentally. And now there's a way to fight it, and that's what I did with the testosterone therapy. I've got more energy now. I've been doing this now. This is, I think, week 5 or 6 for me, and I really feel the difference. Visit agerejuvenation.com. Age Rejuvenation's got 5 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. And go ahead and get that free hormone assessment done. It's certainly worth your time, and it certainly made a big difference in my life so far. And I'm glad that I did it. And I'm not just a pitch man. I'm also a customer. And I encourage anybody my age or older, even a little bit younger, to go get that free hormone panel done. It's blood work, and the thorough, in-depth nature with which they're going to go over everything in your body that's right and wrong, and work to fix it is top notch. So can't recommend it enough. Just like I can't recommend, easy for me to say, I can't recommend you guys going to Pewter Report for the tailgate show. And we had a phenomenal tailgate show, the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show. We're going to be live at the Walk-Ons in Wesley Chapel. That's going to be JC, Allen, Bailey Adams, and John Gilmore are going to be there. It's presented by Age Rejuvenation at the Walk-Ons in Wesley Chapel. And that address is, start by my house, 25372 Sierra Center Boulevard. That's right across from the outlet mall, the premium outlet mall up here in Lutz/Wesley Chapel. And of course, you got to stick around for Pewter Game Day. We got a special guest that's going to be joining you, Matt. Casey Hudson's going to be with me at the stadium. Paul Atwall making his triumphant return to Pewter Game Day. That's going to be at 4:25, live in-game analysis right after the Pewter Report tailgate show. That is going to be live at 2:30. It's going to take you all the way up until kickoff. And you and Paul Atwall are going to be rocking and rolling and providing all of the in-depth commentary during the game. So it's going to be fun. If you listened to the show last year, Paul was on with John Ledyard. He's going to be back for a couple games this year, and one of those is the Packers game. So make sure you are tuned into that. And last but not least, go to pewterreport.com for all of your best Bucs coverage. We have a ton of stories up from yesterday and today, everything covered from the Bucs-Saints game, and we'll be looking ahead to the Bucs-Packers game starting tomorrow on pewterreport.com. Great traffic numbers. Yep. Thanks to you guys for checking us out. Podcast numbers going through the roof. Make sure that you are subscribing to Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. And make sure you're hitting the like button and all of our videos, the press clips that Matt put up. And why don't we get to some of those, Matt, before we leave the show here today? Let's listen to some of what Todd Bowles had to say. Do we have any of those queued up?
Yeah, we'll start off with the biz that Mike Evans was suspended. So here's Bowles talking about that and his reaction to Marshawn Lattimore not getting a suspension either.
Suspension, like I said, the fighting alone loses a player for the next game. It hurts our team because we lose a very good ball player. We don't want that. We don't condone it. And, we got to move forward, try to find a way to win without him. But that should be a lesson to all our other players. Position, but from everybody that's on the field, running backs and receivers, we're going to have to pick it up somewhere. Somebody's going to have to make a play and step up. And that's what we got depth for.
Altercation as well?
He was, but I can only worry about my team. I can only control what happens on this team and not worry about everybody else.
So your understanding is Lattimore was suspended?
I don't know what happened with Lattimore. I just know what happened with Mike.
Yeah.
Bowles was also asked about having Bruce Arians on the sideline. What was up with that? Where he gave a little bit more information in regards to that.
Do you think that he needs to go upstairs, or is there what's your feeling?
Well, he's always upstairs, but they didn't have a box to give us this game, so everybody that was upstairs were downstairs.
So this week and on throughout the year, Jason, Bruce, and those guys will be upstairs. Is that your?
Jason's always downstairs. Bruce is always upstairs.
Okay.
And then the last thing, sorry,
it's interesting to see if Bruce is on the sidelines at Raymond James Stadium. I think he liked being down there closer to the action.
Yeah,
we're going to see if Bruce Arians is on the field on Sunday against the Packers, or if he's going to be upstairs. We'll hear from Todd Bowles with one more topic, man. What's on the deck here?
Yeah, so another big thing that people have been talking about a lot is the fact that Tom Brady is going to have every Wednesday off just from practice, not from he'll be at the facility. He just won't be practicing.
Right.
Some people were going crazy over this. Tom Brady was doing this last year too, but Bowles actually did tell us he pretty much gave us the schedule of every veteran player's day off. So now you can find out when your favorite Bucs are practicing or not practicing.
And you think that works okay for what you need from him?
It's not a personal day, it's a rest day. It's also Julio's rest day. And then we have Chris on Thursday, Mike and Lavonte on Friday, so it's not just him. We have guys, we have designated days off for after games to help them recover quicker and do things. And he has Wednesday, but so does Julio.
Well, we have a designated day off on Tuesdays because during the regular season, there's no Tuesday press conferences or anything. It's the players' day off. The coaches are game planning for the Packers. And we're going to be taking a deep look into the Packers. But that's where you want to go to pewterreport.com. We're going to be back on Wednesday with another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. A couple quick super chats before we leave. Robert Farmer, $5. Love how our secondary is playing so far. It's a big improvement from last year. Feel like we've made quarterbacks look like Hall of Famers. Well, let's hope that they don't continue that from last year. Cannon Fire podcast, $2. Like to see more play action with 41 out there. Yep, and O'Keefe's got to catch the ball when it's thrown to him, right? That's one thing that he didn't do on Sunday. But we're going to really dive into the Packers on Wednesday. That, of course, is our preview show. So we're going to have Bucs Packers preview back on, or I should say, coming on Wednesday when Matt and I return. And Matt, any other final thoughts before we call this one, the best Pewter Report podcast of all time?
Just a lot of good information from Todd Bowles, I really thought. And, free Mike Evans. I said before that if Mike Evans did have a lawyer that could represent him, I thought Albus Dumbledore from Harry Potter would actually be a good one. He got Harry Potter off of some crimes that he was accused of in Order of the Phoenix. So if Albus Dumbledore is available, that would be great. Maybe Elle Woods from Legally Blonde or Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul. Tell us in the comments which fictional lawyer you would want to represent Mike Evans in his appeal. But
I'm going to go with Daredevil from Marvel.
That's a good one. He said himself he's a really good lawyer in the Spider-Man movie when he caught the prick. So exactly.
So that's going to do it for today's show. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We always love Mondays because we have roll call, and these Victory Mondays are kind of fun and contagious. So let's keep them going. Free Mike Evans. There you go. For Matt Matera, I'm Scott Reynolds. Appreciate all the super chats, folks. And we'll see you on Wednesday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast.